make you compete for championships.
Rob, I think you're muted.
The Florida fan base is massive. I mean, Brendan says like 6.5 million.
You keep quoting me on that. That was like a year ago.
Okay, or half a million.
We have to see what that actually number is.
Okay, but 500,000 living alumni. I mean, there's a lot. But getting back to Ole Miss, again, you had two people. I was talking to a coach who used to be y'all's recruiting coordinator last night on the way back after listening to Clark Lee, and damn, that was a lot of fun. He's really good. He's as laid back a coach as I've ever heard, but you can see that he's got that intense side to him. But just looking at the doctors or a couple of guys for the Grove Collective or the Loyalty Foundation, do us a favor. Kind of differentiate between. I've always known about the Loyalty Foundation, and I think about Warner Alford, the old athletic director, standing out in the Grove in a pair of khakis, a starched white button down, and a red blazer, some blue socks, and some white bucks. Going, how's everybody doing today? Why, I say yes, sir, yes, sir. And then you got the Grove Collective, which is a populist movement on steroids of Ole Miss people, and I know a lot of them. And these people are throwing money at Ole Miss, and I say it, they're like, what do you need? You got $30 million 2 weeks ago. You told me about this. Always give credit to the stores from two people, and they ain't the only two people that like Ole Miss that have money.
Yeah, well, the Grove Collective is the NIL collective. It is there directly to raise money for players, and then the Loyalty Foundation is led by the school that is there for the facilities. So that's the two differential to differentiate the two collectives or loyalty to the collective. As far as the money, yeah, I mean, there's Lane Kiffin is basically next to Jesus, the most second popular person in the state of Mississippi. They're gonna do whatever it takes from a financial standpoint. And yes, one guy wrote him a check for 20 million. One guy wrote him a check for 10 million. Said whatever you do, keep Lane Kiffin. That happened a couple of weeks ago, and they're raising a ton of money on the side outside of that. Ole Miss spent about 23 million on its roster in 2025, and they're trying to get that to the 35 million consistently to be top three. I think they were top five this year as far as what they spent on the roster, and they want to get that top three consistently. So they don't want anything to do for somebody that could have more money for their NIL salaries, and that's never going to be a problem for any university. We'll be able to match whatever anybody else pays. But that's really what the coaches are looking at now is how much do I have in my war chest for my roster. So, I think from a financial terms, there will be nobody that can outdo what Ole Miss is doing right now. I think really the biggest concern from Ole Miss camp, there's been a lot of Florida talk, but the insiders really have not been worried about Florida, to be honest about it. They've been worried about the NFL. And as we know, the Giants just opened their coaching position yesterday, and that was kind of a woof because there's nobody closer in this world outside of his immediate family than Lane is than Jackson Dart. Those two are almost inseparable. So there's probably some uneasiness about that. Everybody's keeping an eye on the Miami job if that became open there with the Dolphins. So we'll see. As with Lane, he kind of took that Nick Saban policy because Nick got burned when he commented about the Miami job when said that he wasn't going to take the Alabama job, and then he ended up taking the Alabama job before the end of the Miami Dolphins season. And then, they just for the next 10 years, the media hammered him about that. I don't know if you remember that about the first 10 years at Bama. There was really serious rumors that he was going to go to this organization or Texas or the Browns, and they didn't believe Nick because Nick's commented on that job about Alabama before the end of the Miami season. And so he told Lane, don't ever make that mistake. That's one thing that I learned that you need to make sure you learn is don't ever comment on another job or do contract negotiations or anything until after the season, because if something does change and then your name is mud. And so Lane has kept that policy, and he's not going to break it no matter how antsy the Ole Miss fans want him to come out and say, I'm staying here, or I'm, sign the renewals contract or whatever. And by the way, he's only in the first year of an 8-year, $72 million deal. So it's not like his contract is running out in a couple months. He's 5 months into an 8-year, $72 million deal right now. So Lane doesn't need a comment on it until the season's over, no matter how badly the Ole Miss fans want him to go ahead and say, I'm staying for next season. And I get it from an Ole Miss standpoint, but I also get it from a Nick Saban standpoint. And there's nobody that's been more influential on Lane than Nick Saban. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the story about why he will not. It's not only from a leverage standpoint that a lot of people kind of take it from Jimmy Sexton. It's also from a Nick Saban policy standpoint that he's taken after him because Nick got burned commenting on that during the season.
Yeah. Blind Squirrel Sports. Love this guy from Buena Vista, Georgia. Should Ole Miss fans be concerned that Lane Kiffin did not say no to the possibility of coaching at the University of Florida in his most recent press conference? I didn't see that, but I mean, golly,
Again, if you comment on one school and then the
yeah,
next week it'll be LSU and
yeah,
then Florida State
great,
and then the Giants and the Dolphins, and it just never ends, right? So
yeah,
you have to have a hardcore line and not comment at all, which he never has in
yeah,
6 years. This isn't the first year that Ole Miss has gone through this. So this is standard policy that he does. If you break it one time, then 2 years down the road, what is somebody gonna say? Well, you made that exception one time, right? And then it grows legs that he won't comment on another job opportunity, a couple years down the road. So you have to have a hardcore approach about it, and he's never going to budge from it.
okay,
He's just not.
yeah, well, it is. And like, I want to say something too. God bless our troops. It is Veterans Day, and man, none of us don't know somebody in our family, friends that fought and have served in the military, whether National Guard, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. And I'll say a special salute to my brother-in-law, Gunnery Sergeant Kurt Ham, 26 years in the Marine Corps, 7 combat deployments. Never has asked for anything, but he said, I got a lot of free stuff from the federal government, but I paid for it later. But we have the best people in the world in our military. And by the way, Monday nights at the Touchdown Club meetings at the Hilton in East Memphis, that's where all the recruits from Memphis, Arkansas, and Eastern Oklahoma meet. They spend the night in a luxury hotel, then they ship out to start basic training, which I can assure you this is not in a luxury hotel, but God bless our troops. And we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Question for you, Yancy. 3 years ago, you pointed out you were way ahead of the curve. Ole Miss had a $350 million project to renovate Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. They put that on hold, and they said, let's put that into NIL.
For Lane. Lane wanted that to be put on hold. So they still got the funds and it's sitting there, but Lane doesn't want to spend money on a renovation on the stadium because he wants to make sure that money goes to the NIL.
Yeah, and I'm just curious because selling a lot of bonds, was that a public finance deal of $350 million? Where they were going to sell
just money that was raised. That was money that was raised.
$350 million was raised.
That's right. That was over the $1 billion campaign that was raised for academics and $500 million for the athletics. I think it was came out at 1.62 billion. That was totally raised there and then. So they've got that money on the side. Lane didn't want to spend the money on a renovation or addition to the stadium. He wants money going to the NIL. So that's another thing that's been talked about is, they need to do something in the stadium and all this, but Lane doesn't want to do anything to it. He says it doesn't matter to recruits. It doesn't matter to players, that what they get paid and winning is what matters. So that's, it's Lane's program.
Well, that's great that you pointed. I knew they had the $1 billion campaign, $500 million for athletics, and that $350 million. I was curious if that was a bond deal because that's debt financing, and you trust me. If I called up an Ole Miss grad and said, "Hey, I've got a $10 million block of 5%, munis at 20-year maturity with 7 years call protection," I'll take them. I mean, that's how that works. So, looking at Ole Miss is the future. With Lane Kiffin and this staff that he's got, Pete Golding. He took a lot of grief, at Alabama, but you don't survive 4 years on Nick Saban's staff if you're not good. Talk about the job he's doing. Only had 2 starters come back, 8 guys drafted, the most ever for Ole Miss. Well, Yancy, once, twice, we lost him. Hopefully he'll come back here. But Yancy, let's talk about that. Eight players drafted off Ole Miss last year, the most in school history. Dart to the Giants. And by the way, if you know your history, Charlie Connolly and the Eli Manning, the relationship with Ole Miss and the New York Giants is a long, and storied relationship. And that's a big deal. There's a big connection with Ole Miss and New York City in the public finance and the securities business. Follow the money trail. Ole Miss's accounting school is ranked third in the country. There's a ton of money among their graduates, and nobody's talking about that because they think Mississippi is a small state. There's a lot of money among their graduates.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that people, do get a concern about the Giants opening. And, the New York Post has already put Lane Kiffin as their number one target. So, with that relationship, that unique relationship that Ole Miss and the Giants have had for a number of years, that it goes all the way back from the Charlie Connerly days when he was the first Marlboro man. So I mean, we're talking about a long time ago, right?
Damn
So,
right.
um, it is a long relationship, and for Pete Golding, he's a great recruiter, obviously, but he's really innovative. He came out with that three down line, eight drop eight zone. He's just a unique guy, and he's doing an outstanding job. If I'd have told you after that Georgia game, after Arkansas ran up and down Ole Miss as well, that Ole Miss would be in the top 30 in defense and total defense, rushing defense, passing defense, third down defense, red zone defense, and scoring defense, you would have probably thought I've been smoking too much. So
Too
what
many
he's
gummies.
done, yeah, too many gummies. But he's, that front four, the defensive line, were guys that were all in their first year as starters. They sat behind the guys that were experienced last year. And so they needed some reps. And then they inserted another linebacker at the weak side linebacker, outside linebacker there, and Andrew Jones. He started starting. And then two guys, two defensive backs that were heavily paid this year by the collective were in that Memphis shooting. And they were, they got shot and it took them a while to recover. And they finally recovered and they've been inserted to the lineup, and Ole Miss is much more athletic and faster now in the secondary. So it was kind of each unit kind of got a lot better through the season, and it's a total different defense than it was against Georgia. I'll say that.
Yeah, and Brendan and I get a chance to talk to a lot of really smart football people, and you're certainly one of them. And hopefully, Rodney Orr, I guess he had some problems this morning. He got his new phone last week, and he was doing great. But we'll get him back on next week. We got tonight. The CFP rankings are going to come out. Do you really care as long as Ole Miss is in there in the top 12?
No, I mean I don't care personally, regardless. But from an Ole Miss perspective, I think some are bracing maybe not Indiana, excuse me, but Texas Tech could jump them with that victory over BYU. And they dropped to 7, 6. But, it's just from an Ole Miss perspective, they want to make sure they close the deal last year like they did not this year, unlike they did last year when Florida beat them there. And so they want to focus on Florida and keep it one game at a time.
All right. We got a couple of minutes before we got to go. Let's say Brendan, Lauren, Gator fans are driving up to Oxford, from all over. They're Gator fans all over. They're coming to Oxford. Where do they go? Where's the best places for them to eat? I know, but maybe just some new places. The Beacon's closed, by the way.
Tell them to call me. I'll show them around for sure. I'll show everybody a good time. I always do. But no, seriously. I would add for lunch, I would go to Proud Larry's or Tallahatchie, the place that I took you, Rob. And then for dinner, I'd go to Lenore's one night. I don't know how many nights they're going to be here. If they're going to be here 3 or 4, I'd go to Lenore's and then maybe Jinsei. Jinsei is a really trendy kind of sushi place. So it's
where would you
really
take a single
cool
old guy like? Where'd you take a single old guy like me?
Lenore's. Lenore's.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Brendan's good.
You can sit there at the bar and have some drinks with the other old guys like me and socialize and talk football and look at beautiful women.
That's perfect.
And sit up
American
on the
way. There's nothing wrong with it.
Sit up on the balcony. Sit up on the balcony at Square Books and read a great book and just look around you.
Rob, you can go do that. That's fine. I'm going to go with Yancy. You go read your book.
I'll take Audrey down there.
Read books.
No, I ain't reading books.
Yeah. He's reading tea leaves.
I'm reading books and she's reading books.
That's right. Hey, you know what we got to do?
I'm pulling it up on ChatGPT and say, summarize this book and make me sound smart.
Hey, you left off Yancy, you left off one thing. You get left off one thing that everybody's got to experience when they go to Oxford, and that is going to the Chevron station at 3 a.m, all liquored up in the line that goes out into the street and getting chicken on a stick. You can't beat that.
Yeah, you better. You know, once you get around 50, you start getting heartburn from that stuff.
Yeah,
so
I don't think I can do chicken on a stick anymore. I don't care where I am.
And my kids always loved this growing up, the candy shop. Anyway, Yancy, I absolutely enjoy. Thank you more than you know for sharing your time with us. You're one of the best people out there. Rebels and Gators, we're going to have you on tonight on the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows on this channel. So we'll see you at 10 after.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And we'll get the link to you
time
tonight. Yeah, we're gonna have a blast. But have a great day until then.
You too.
All right, thank you. All right, let's say this. Landers Ford people, golly, I'm gonna tell you, I was at the Touchdown Club last night with Clark Lee speaking, and I tell you, I love those people out there. Brad Bellamy, the general manager, Don Kitchens, the owner. The auction for the football was unbelievable for Clark Lee. Landers Ford, they've got a huge inventory. Poplar and Houston Levy, where Germantown and Collierville come together. Open every day of the week except Sunday, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Service department, pick you up at home or your office, bring you in, take you home. They'll do a great job fixing your vehicle. They've got the Broncos, the top. I'm going to tell you something. The top of the line Broncos and the F-150s, okay? They've got the King Ranches. I drive an F-150. I love it. Drives like a car on the road, drives like a truck off-road. I don't get stuck. Ask anyone that hunts with me. I don't get stuck in this gumbo mud. And they've got Black Friday savings, 2025 Ford Escape, $8,810 off MSRP. This is just the beginning. Look at that Robin Egg Blue Bronco with the red lettering. That's what all the ladies want. My wife says, I want one of those because you won't drive it off-road. I'm like, well, yeah, not a woman's car, no. But they've got great selection. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Take the stress out of it. It ain't the doing in life that's so bad, it's the dreading. Just call Brad Bellamy, the GM at Landers Ford. And Hewlett and Dunn, wow. They got a shipment in there yesterday. I was out there to see everybody. The Barber collection for the men and the women, it's unbelievable. They've got the best looking coats and jackets and gloves and hats and luggage and bags for men and women, the scarves. They've got it all. They got over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots in inventory. And they've got Filson and the ladies Filson collection. They're still waiting on some stuff to come in. It's coming in daily. All right, STS, Schaefer, Pendleton, the Duckhead wax canvas jackets. You never seen anything. I didn't know Duckhead made stuff that looked this cool. And again, the Filson hunting jackets, Duck Camp. They've got Duckhead pants. You got to get out there. The Devil Dog jeans. They're open every day of the week except Sunday. But now Black Friday, Thanksgiving weekend, they'll start opening on Sundays through Christmas, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Look, Rumble Boxing, how you fight is how you live. Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis. Get in there, get in the best shape of your life. Open every day of the week around 5 in the morning, 5:30. Get them started now. And Lights Out Gummies, Pro Athletes Hemp Association, 25% off. Use promo code Sidelines. Those energy gummies, they keep you from being hungry all day. They work. You ought to get some of them. Remember, most often we see the face of Christ, the least among us. Find ways to go out and help people. For executive producer Brendan Martin, Rob Brown, we'll see you tonight on this channel. Thanks for watching.
Hey, happy Veterans Day out there, everybody.
Happy Veterans Day to everybody.
See y'all tonight.
I am around. You bet.